Hey folks, my name's Ed Trevors. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland that sits on the ancestral and the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, Gwe. Furnaces are working. Heat's back on. Happy about that. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is last week I visited a buddy of mine up in Moncton. And my buddy Denis, great guy. But when I get around Denis, he has this character trait that he needs to be the one in control of what we watch. And so we end up watching a lot of concerts that he's picked up, or a lot of movies that he really liked, or, as in this case, a documentary. Despite the fact that my French is only passable, he made me watch a French documentary, and it was amazing. The documentary was called Le Silence. It was made by a documentarian out of Quebec. And I'm going to include a link to it in the comments, because there is, thankfully, an English version of this same documentary with subtitles that you can check out, and it's found on the National Film Board's website for free. Le Silence, The Silence, is a documentary about abuse and about how a group of men, middle-aged men, came forward with their stories of abuse at the hands of a Roman Catholic priest, Father Camille Leger, Père Leger, as he was known. This guy was incredibly important in his community. Not only was he the priest in a small French rural community, a very devout Roman Catholic community, but he was a major part of that community well outside the church. I mean, they had even named their new rink after him. And this guy, for decades, abused young boys. He was a coach. He was a scout leader. He was the parish priest, the one that everybody looks to, the one that everybody calls when bad things happen, the one who is supposed to be there to take care of families. He's the one that is supposed to be a mentor to the children of the community, an example of what it means to be a servant of Jesus Christ. If you watch the documentary, and I hope you do, these men who share their stories are brutally forthright. They don't spare the viewer anything. They tell those of us watching, they tell us exactly what this person did. Now, in today's culture, we can look at that and say, good for them, they did it, and that's true. Good for them, they did it. I'm grateful that they did it. I'm amazed at how they did it. I'm amazed at the strength that they would have had to conjure up, but most of all, I'm amazed at how they were willing to allow their cultural norms, their cultural values, their cultural ideologies to be challenged. And not only them, not only those who were abused by this person, but the community as well. Because when the community found out about the allegations, in earnest, when all the allegations were coming forward, and the community finally said, oh my God, what's happened? They believed the stories. They allowed themselves to let go of all the things that they had believed up until this point. They had allowed themselves to let go of their opinion of Père Leger, right? The great saintly Père Leger. They allowed themselves to recognize that their opinions of this person were based on an incomplete understanding of who he was. They allowed themselves to deconstruct decades of believing that he was a good and holy man. They allowed themselves to deconstruct their faith that a priest would never do anything like that a priest is only 1 or 2 steps lower than God himself, that the priest was somehow infallible. They allowed themselves to deconstruct their understanding and their value that the church is perfect, that the church is always there, that the church is always watching over them, that the church is incorruptible and infallible. They allowed themselves to challenge their values and their ideals. Because if they wouldn't have done that, if they wouldn't have accepted this daunting and painful challenge, what you would have seen is the community ripped apart. You would have seen accusations being launched from all sides. You're lying. You're just in it for the money. No, instead you saw a community who came together and removed that person's name from above the entrance to the rink. We all have an understanding about where we come from. We all have an understanding of what it means to be who we are as community. What it means to be a Nova Scotian, a New Brunswicker. What it means to be a Canadian. What it means to be an American. And this understanding comes from the information that's been provided for us. But we hear from time to time that there are others within our community who don't share that opinion, who don't share our understanding of what it means to be a member of this community, who don't share our understanding of where we come from, who see things just a little bit differently, perhaps who see things from the position of someone who has been oppressed, someone who has been abused, someone whose people have been harmed. Now we have a choice. We can choose to say, no, never, we're not going to accept this. What I know of myself, what I know of where I come from, my opinion of what it means to be me, what it means to be us, will never change based on what you have to say. You've got an agenda. Or we can listen to what's being offered to us. We can seek out more information. We can read, we can study. We can try to see our history and our understanding from multiple perspectives. We can allow ourselves to challenge our knowledge, to challenge our values, to challenge our ideologies. We can allow ourselves to accept that maybe our understandings are based on a limited information or a skewed perspective or a biased knowledge set. And if we're willing to do that, if we're willing to accept that there is more information out there that can inform us about who we are and where we come from and what it means to be us, then we can grow. And we can truly strive, we can truly reach to be the people that we want to be. We can truly work towards being the individual, being the community, being the nation, being us that we really, really want to be. But so long as we're not willing to allow ourselves to challenge our understanding of what was, our understanding of where we come from, our understanding of how we got here, our understanding of the forces that were in play that brought us to this moment. We'll continuously find ourselves defending the indefensible. We'll continuously find ourselves fighting the information that is being offered, ignoring the evidence that is being offered because we just simply don't want to accept that maybe our understanding is based on a limited amount of knowledge. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that you will be bold and courageous, that you'll be willing to allow your understanding, that I would be willing to allow my understanding, that together we would be willing to allow our understanding of where we come from, of who we are, what we believe, to be deconstructed so that we can learn more about this critical aspect of our identity, so that we can truly become the people we want to become. Amen. Nemultus.